Hey guys, Tiffany Ofili Porter here, where I discuss all things life after sport. This is the next installation on the Loctician Speaks series. As you can see, I have Melissa here, who is a staple on my channel, and we are here to bring you some good information. If you are considering getting Sisterlocks, or you have somebody who is on the fence about whether or not it's going to be a good fit for them, this video is going to be the 7 situations where getting Sisterlocks might not be ideal. So if that sounds interesting, make sure you keep on watching this video. Let's go ahead and just jump right into it, Melissa.
Medals on her chest, she's proven her greatness, knows no rest, representing the countries with pride she stands.
Number 1, if you see me glancing down, I took some notes. I didn't want to miss anything on this video. Number 1, if you have thick or weak hair. So as we've talked about, Sisterlocks are meant to be for people who have, textured hair. It's that locking system for tightly coiled hair, and it's not suitable for everyone. And one of the biggest populations where you would really need to kind of see if it's going to make sense is for those people with that thinner, weak hair. Melissa, do you want to kind of elaborate on that?
It's just that when you have that thin, fine hair, you can probably take the challenge of trying to get Sisterlocks, but just know that you will probably need to go and get your hair retightened maybe every 3 to 4 weeks, because you want to keep that base strong so that you're not weakening your locks and they start to come out.
Yeah, you said that's kind of the case with one of your clients, that they have to go more frequently than like someone like me who goes every 6 weeks, right?
Yes, correct. Because I have my mother, her hair is very fine. And so I'm gonna have to make sure that I do her hair every 3 to 4 weeks, because I couldn't understand why she was losing locks. That was it.
Man,
her base was too weak.
That it makes sense, because when your hair is a little bit thinner, that it's more prone to that breakage, like you mentioned, and the Sisterlocks can cause extra strain. Mm-hmm. And tell me if this has been your experience, that when your hair is thin or weak, your hair can be particularly more vulnerable to that breakage during the installation process.
Well, I can see that too, because again, you're pulling and tightening on those fine hairs, so you might get strands that are pulled.
Yeah.
So I can see that happening.
And then just going back to that, maintaining them properly, going more frequently. So as we're giving you these, I guess, problems, we're going to try to give some solutions as well. So
I was just about to say that the ideal for somebody with thin hair would be to get larger locks.
So that is something to consider. Maybe you've been considering Sisterlocks and you have thinner hair, maybe considering traditional locks or larger inner locks, or if you are very keen on doing the Sisterlocks, just kind of understanding that you're going to have to go more regularly to get them maintained than someone who doesn't experience that. Okay. Number 2, someone who has severe scalp issues. So Melissa, can you kind of shed some light on that a little bit?
Mm-hmm. So if you're dealing with scalp issues like psoriasis or anything of that nature, again, you want to make sure that you get that stuff treated, because you don't want that scalp to start weakening your hairline your bases of your locks. And again, you'll start losing locks because your base is not strong.
Yeah, so typically, I think we've talked about it in the past. By the way, guys, this is a series, so I have so much content on my channel about Sisterlocks, so make sure you refer back to a lot of those videos where we cover some of this stuff in more detail as well. But kind of going back to what we talked about, in a situation like that, Melissa, you would encourage them to go and seek out the help of a dermatologist, right?
Exactly. Go seek a professional. Exactly.
Yeah.
A dermatologist, or go to your primary care provider, who will probably send you to a dermatologist. But yes.
Yeah, and kind of bypassing, I guess you would need to get a consultation anyway. So any loctician who's going to do your install is going to kind of see that, and that's going to probably be like a deal breaker to even move forward. But
that's also one of the reasons why they want you to come in with loose hair, so they can not only just see your hair, but see your scalp too.
That is true. So that is something to keep in mind. Do not go to your consultation if you have like box braids in, or cornrows, or any other style that would prohibit your loctician from actually assessing the health of your scalp. Because if you do And hair, of course. If you do bypass that and maybe you go to someone who is not certified or is not as thorough in that assessment, doing so and just getting Sisterlocks without addressing those scalp issues can really lead to the aggravation of your scalp further. So it can actually exacerbate the problem if it's not addressed up front, right? Yeah, so definitely keep that in mind. If you know that you do suffer from that psoriasis or eczema, or super dry scalp with dandruff, just make sure that you are thinking about that before you make the decision to go get Sisterlocks.
Yeah, and you're probably going to irritate the scalp more trying to install on top of all that irritation already that's going on.
Exactly.
And making it worse.
Exactly. And we do not want that. We're thinking about the longevity and the health and the beauty of our hair for the long term. Number 3, chemically treated or damaged hair. Now, this one, I think out of all the 7 is probably the most nuanced. We'll kind of talk about why. But Melissa, can you kind of speak to what that looks like for somebody who's coming in to get that consultation?
Well, you don't want to try to get something installed on top of damaged hair, because all you're going to do is damage it even more.
Yes.
So when you think about how Sisterlocks are installed and the technique that's being used, it's putting tension on the hair. So if your hair is damaged and you're putting more tension on it, you're just going to break off those strands.
Yes. And I think sometimes people, try to kind of cheat this process and say, oh, it's just locks, just do it and it'll kind of figure itself out. But I remember one thing we talked about is that you kind of have to let some of that damage, some of that either bleached or, heat treated or chemically treated hair grow out a little bit, kind of more on that on the next point, but not doing so. Like your hair is not going to be strong enough for the actual locking process, like Melissa said.
You're not going to have healthy locks.
Yeah, and the base, like the foundation during that establishment is what's going to serve as the base of your hair throughout the longevity of your Sisterlock. So you want to make sure that you're starting off with a fantastic foundation. So kind of segueing into the next point, even if you do have that chemically treated or damaged hair, you can still get Sisterlocks if you allow your hair to kind of grow out a little bit. So number 4 would be hair that is shorter than the required length. And typically, Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, the minimum length to kind of get that establishment of for your natural hair is about 4 inches, right?
That is correct. That is correct. But you got some people that can grip some hair, so they can do it shorter.
Okay. Yep. So, that's something to consider too. If you're like someone who has maybe only 2 inches of new growth after you're trying to grow out your perm or you're trying to grow out your bleached color, then you might have to wait some time, and it might just be prudent to just give yourself a little bit of time before you even book that consultation with your loctician, so you're not wasting anybody's time. So just having that minimum of 4 inches of hair, which is typically the recommendation for installing Sisterlocks. And if it's any shorter, just giving yourself time to kind of make that process or that consultation worthwhile for everybody. Number 5, people seeking a low initial investment. Now, this is a topic that I think I would be remiss if I didn't talk about. I talk about this point about Sisterlocks in every video that I do because it matters. Whether it's the cons of Sisterlocks video, whether it's the downsides of Sisterlocks, whether it's the things that you must know before you take the plunge in getting Sisterlocks, you have to mention that there is an initial investment cost-wise and time-wise when you are considering getting Sisterlocks, right, Melissa?
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah, because they are a significant financial and time investment up front, and not even only up front, you have to commit to those 4 to 6 weeks retightenings. More on that in the next topic, but it's one of those things where that can be prohibitive for some people. If you know that you're not interested in spending upwards of $1,000 to get your hair initially installed and then $180 every 4 to 6 weeks to get them maintained, then it's probably not going to be a good fit for you.
Right. And the way that I would kind of look at that cost, because this is exactly what I did to see if it was something that I really wanted to do, was I looked at how much I spent already on my hair.
Yes.
So not only did I look at like the styles to go to a hairdresser, but all the hair care products that I buy for my hair, I counted everything and then made that decision.
See, she was very diligent. She did a cost-benefit analysis before getting her Sisterlocks, which is really smart. So you're taking it from someone who has experience of being a loctician and someone who obviously has very beautiful locks herself, that even though there is that financial commitment in getting locks, because again, that is a thing, it can cancel out in the amount of hair products that you are spending for everyday use for your natural hair. So definitely think about what it looks like for you. If you're one of those people who just wears an afro every day and you don't do anything to maintain your loose natural hair, then the time and money commitment associated with locks, it might actually feel like it's a little bit less, like more maintenance than what you're doing. But if you're someone who's doing braid outs and twist outs and has a 7-hour wash routine every time it's time to wash your hair with your loose natural hair, then this is going to feel like a welcome relief. So I think that it is one of those things where everybody needs to kind of figure out what makes the most sense for them and their lifestyle, and do your own version of Melissa's cost benefit analysis. So number 6, which is the perfect segue from our previous point, Sisterlocks may not be for you if you have a preference for ultra low maintenance hairstyles. Now, we've mentioned it, but although they do require less daily styling, which Melissa and I kind of chatted about before, that's one of the favorite things for us, is we can kind of just, after those retightenings, we're done. We don't have to do much. You know, I like to wear my hair curly. As you can see, she has a curled set in her hair right now. So she did put in those pipe cleaners.
It was a holiday.
Yeah, it was a holiday. She wanted to elevate her look. They look amazing, so it's worth it. But that's optional. If you wear your hair straight, it's even less maintenance than having to put in pipe cleaners and do all these styles. So I had somebody before in my comments on some of my Sisterlocks videos. By the way, guys, I respond to everybody in my comments. So if you ever have any questions about Sisterlocks or want me to elaborate or clarify on any point that I make, go ahead and drop it down in the comments and I got you. But I had somebody comment like, Tiffany, you said it was low maintenance. I disagree. These are not low maintenance and it's a little bit misleading. And I was like, okay, well, thank you for your perspective. However, for those of you who've been here for a while, you'll know that one thing I'm gonna do is keep it real. So I definitely talk about the level of maintenance that you have to have with Sisterlocks. I mentioned how you have to commit to those every 4 to 6 weeks retightenings or your Sisterlocks will break off. I talk about how, you have to just have that time commitment when you go to your retightening appointments. And I feel like I'm very upfront about that. And to someone like me and Melissa, who we don't have to do that daily manipulation, that is considered low maintenance in comparison to where we are coming from. Versus someone, like I mentioned, who is not doing anything to their hair, it might not necessarily seem like the case, right, Melissa?
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, yes, those retightenings can be a little time consuming and costly. Melissa and I've talked, I think my retightenings are like 6 hours now at this point. Not a function of her. She's my 4th loctician, and literally this is the case. I just have a lot of locks. So that is something to, now there are some of my sisters who can get in and out in 2 hours though. So that is something to keep. Just because it takes me 6 hours does not mean it's going to take you 6 hours for your retightening.
And my hair looks like I have a lot, but it only takes her about 2.5 hours.
And you see how beautiful her locks are. So that right there, both of us have the same hairstyles. We have a similar look, but hers takes a quarter of the time than mine does. So something to consider, because it's very customizable, very specific to the person wearing the locks. So if you are seeking a style with no maintenance requirements, then Sisterlocks probably aren't going to be for you. And that's just me keeping it real. The next point, the final point I want to talk about, is someone who is undecided on hair commitment. If that's you, don't get Sisterlocks right now. Give it some time. What do you think, Melissa?
I agree, because you're going to have to at least give it about a year or two to get to the point to where you're going to love them.
Exactly. Everybody talks about that awkward stage. I think for me, because I had done so much research on Sisterlocks, I was prepared for it. I knew what to expect. I was wearing my wigs and my hats and, doing all different things to kind of help me get through that awkward stage. And in hindsight, it wasn't even that bad, to be honest with you. But it's something to keep in mind. So you have to know it's kind of a long game. The way that my locks look mature 7 years in the game is not going to be how yours look 7 days into getting your Sisterlocks. And they are arguably permanent. I would say they're permanent.
Permanent.
Yeah, because if you want to go and remove your Sisterlocks, it's time intensive. You will lose hair. And it's one of those things where if you are unsure about committing to a locked style long term, then maybe consider starting with less permanent hairstyles. Maybe do like 2-strand twists to see if it's a look that you could even bang with, right?
I agree. That's a good idea.
Yeah, because people sometimes just want to jump into it. I actually had a homegirl, kind of a mutual friend, who was loving her locks. She was excited about getting them, and she got them, and they looked so good on her. But I think between, having younger children, and I think there were some issues with scheduling with her loctician, it was not a pleasant experience for her, and she cut them off. She cut them off, and she's kind of just like rocking a short pixie cut, and it doesn't seem like locks are going to be a situation for her, which is so unfortunate because she was just so excited about them. But it's one of those things. She had a lot of hair before she cut her hair off, and I'm sure she probably might even have regretted getting her Sisterlocks. Maybe she just didn't do enough research on what it would look like from a day to day, or maybe she got them and just changed her mind, which is totally fine. She looks amazing in her pixie cut. And if you're watching this, sis, we still love you.
Right. But what I would say about that, though, is that people forget about the versatility. That's literally why I chose Sisterlocks to get Microlocs instead of traditional locks, is because the flexibility I would still have with my hair.
Yes.
So if I get tired of looking like this, I can change it. I can go get box braids put in my hair. I can go and get a quick weave or put a weave in my head. I can still do those things.
100%. That's a very good point, Melissa. My most recent Sisterlocks video was the 7 hairstyles that you can do on Sisterlocks. 7 simple hairstyles. These were like things that took like a minute to just do, and it can change your look. For the most part, all of the styles you can do with loose natural hair, you can do with your Sisterlocks.
But not only that, I know some people get tired of that braid look and they want that straight hair look. You can still go put on a wig.
100%. I can braid these locks down to the back and go get me a 36-inch bust down in the middle, and just have that look if that's what I wanted to do. Now, I will say, though, keeping it real, Melissa, because I have so much hair, that my braids will be a little bit thicker than they would have been.
Well, yours probably, because you do.
Yeah, but
if you can get somebody, though, that knows how to braid, because there are some people out there that know how to braid to where that stuff lays flat, even with locks. Because I seen somebody with traditional locks, fat locks. Put a wig on, get a wig installed, and you didn't know she had no lumps in her head.
I believe it.
And she had traditional.
Yeah, which if the reason she's saying that, for those of you who don't know, generally traditional locks tend to be a little bit thicker. So she's pretty much saying if she's able to achieve that look, imagine with big bulky locks, imagine what we can do with our Sisterlocks. So that is definitely something to consider. They are a commitment, Sisterlocks. They are permanent, but you still have the flexibility that you had before getting Sisterlocks. So that to me is one of the big pros of getting them, and something to keep in mind when you are on the fence or when you are figuring out if these make sense for you. And with everything, we've mentioned it before, always consult a certified Sisterloctician to help determine if the style is right for you, for your hair type, for your lifestyle, and for your goals. And that is pretty much it. Melissa, is there anything that you want to add to the conversation before we close out?
No, we pretty much covered it, so that's pretty good.
Yes, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Let me know what you thought about this conversation, and if there's anything that you would like for me to follow up in our next Loctician Speaks series video, and you already know I got you. I appreciate you guys for being here. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to join the family, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.